Welcome to the Narrowing Path, walking the spiritual walk. My name is Steve Van Eiderstein. Thank y'all for joining me again tonight as we go through and we do today's daily reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations. October has been great. I'm looking forward to this continuing on. This, of course, will be fresh to you and fresh to me, meaning that you will get my genuine response, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading, as this will be the first time that I read it or hear it right here on this podcast with y'all. There's been a lot of great stuff just about accountability, whose responsibility it is to actually change these things, and how our thinking really affects the world around us. So I'm assuming this is going to build off of that. And yesterday's was just about justice. That's right. Sorry, I looked at the last line just to remind me of it. The supreme justice and the supreme love are one, right? So everything in our lives and circumstances and people are a result of seeds we have sown. I believe that to be true. So let's see what today follows up with. So here we go. This is October 6th reading of James Allen's Daily Meditation. The history of a nation is the building of its deeds. As a body is built of cells and a house of bricks, so a man's mind is built of thoughts. The various characters of men are none other than compounds of thoughts of varying combinations. Herein we see the deep truth of the saying, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Individual characteristics are fixed processes of thought. That is, they are fixed in the sense that they have become an integral part of the character, so that they can only be altered or removed by a protracted effort of the will and by much self-discipline. Character is built in the same way as a tree or house is built, namely by ceaseless addition of new material, and that material is thought. By the aid of millions of bricks, a city is built. By the aid of millions of thoughts, a character, a mind, is built. Huh. Getting down to it, aren't we? This is what his whole book, As a Man Thinketh, is about. That's where he got the title is the quote in this. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. I believe that's a Bible verse. Let me see which one it is real quick. Proverbs 23:7. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. So that's what this whole thing's built upon. I like the last metaphor, the comparison, really, I guess, between the city and the mind. It's a great one. And you know how people say buildings or cities have character, right? Mind has character. Pathways and roads and connections and sections. You know, it's a lot of similarities between the two, actually, when you think about it that way. So let's go ahead and we'll get into this one. The history of a nation is the building of its deeds. I like that. Right? So you can look at the quality of it, excuse me, just had to yawn. The quality of a nation by its history, right? What has it done? What is it built upon? Right? Because that's a big thing. What was it founded upon? What was its founding principles? What have the actions been since it's been built? Since it's been established? What actions has it taken? What is the historical context and relevance of this nation, right? So A nation today is built upon the deeds of its past. Seems obvious, I know, but at the end of the day, it's just like a man, just like a person is everything, is the result of everything that they have thought and has occurred in their life until that point. So the history of a nation is the building of its deeds. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. So, as a body is built of cells and a house of bricks, so a man's mind is built of thoughts, right? What shapes our mind, what feeds our mind, the direction we take, things we think about, motivations we come from with it. It's all relevant, it's all important. And that's what we build off of, right? It's true. Our minds built and created. They talk about when you learn something new synapses are made. So you're creating your mind with what you're thinking about and what you're experiencing and what things you're bringing into your life. You're creating it. And then you're creating then it's your responsibility for the thoughts. What are you putting into your brain? What are you constructing, right? Because those thoughts lead to actions, those actions lead to habits lead to character. And that's what we'll get into here in a second here, right? The various characters of men are none other than the compound thoughts of various combinations. So our character is determined by our thoughts, and it's the accumulation of thoughts. It's the repetitive action upon a certain line of thinking, right? A certain belief. Compounds of thoughts of varying combinations. So it's a structured belief which drives our thoughts, which drives our actions, which creates our character. It's pretty straightforward when you think about it that way. Herein, we see the deep truth of saying, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. That's a powerful, powerful line. That line has changed so many people's lives. I mean, it's changed James Allen's life. That was his most popular essay, As a Man Thinketh, because it was so potent and so powerful. It was packed with truths that people needed to hear, that people still need to hear. It is on many inspirational speakers' top 5 list. It's on many of the book club's lists to read. It's a very short book. I'd highly recommend everyone going out and reading it. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. Fantastic book. That book was actually the one that got me into James Allen because I read that book. That was one of the first books I read in my recovery. Because of that book, I was able to think or be willing to think differently enough that recovery took root for me. It's pretty amazing what can happen. So, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. This goes a lot to what you think about in your mind, but also what you hold in your heart. What beliefs are you holding on to? Do you have fear-based beliefs? Do you have love-based beliefs? Or do you have selfish beliefs or selfless beliefs? Big differences here. Individual characteristics are fixed processes of thought. I mean, and that's true. They've become so natural to us, and so we've repeated them so much that they become mindless habits, meaning we don't have to initiate them. They're entrenched, and that pathway is just rooted, or it's dug so deep. It becomes a character of ours because people have behaviors that are 20, 30, 40, 60 years old that they need to change. Well, they people will excuse me, and people will come to the understanding that they need to change. And it's very difficult for some of them because they are so deep rooted, because they are fixed processes of thought. But because they are thought, they can be changed. They can be changed. That is, they are fixed in the sense that they have become an integral part of the character that can be only altered or removed by a protracted effort of will and by much self discipline. Protracted, real quick, just to make sure. Excuse the clicking. Lasting for a long time or longer than expected or usual. So, an extended, long period of self discipline. This stuff doesn't necessarily change overnight, guys. It's the human condition is a human of habit, or is a creature of habit, right? So, when we have deeply entrenched, long standing habits, it has to be purposeful and intentional effort and appropriate effort directed towards this. It's not easy. It's a undertaking you have to willingly participate in. Character is built in the same way as a tree or a house is built, namely by the ceaseless addition of new material. That material is thought. Right? That's it. James Allen's definition of sin is ignorance, lack of knowledge, sometimes willful lack of knowledge. So, thought, information, and then action is so crucial. It's so important to this whole thing. We need to keep adding, keep growing, keep expanding our understanding so the truths we know are refined even more. That's how this is supposed to go. Ceaseless addition of new thought, new perspectives, understandings, concepts, keeping the brain engaged and stimulated and growing and changing. That's what character building is all about. It's the willingness to change and adapt, or at least entertain other perspectives to either solidify your current one or to allow yourself to be convinced to change it. And now the last line here. By the aid of millions of bricks, a city is built. By the aid of millions of thoughts, a character, a mind is built. Millions of thoughts, millions upon millions of thoughts, right? The more you really throw yourself into this, the more you'll learn, the more you'll grow, the more perspective and truth you will find. What a blessing that is. And through that, you can change your character. You can change those things that have haunted you. Those things that you say to, that's just how I am. I've always been that way. Well, you could unlearn it if you so desire. So, all right. Well, that was a lovely, lovely reading. Love it. Makes me so happy that he brought in the James Allen, or excuse me, the as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It's a great line. Great line. And again, I recommend go ahead and pick up a copy of James Allen's As a Man Thinketh. I'm sure I'll do a reading of that at some point. Like go through that chapter by chapter and give my understanding and perspective of things too as we do it. So thank you all for joining me again tonight, though. And I'll be back again tomorrow. So until next time, thanks.